Today, we're talking about a subject that's very near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's about schools for special needs children. And that's what this is all about today. And if this doesn't apply to you, maybe you know someone who's struggling with this that you can share this video with, and I think it'll be very helpful. I'm Lisa Carroll, and I'm the team leader of Team TLC here in Tampa, and this is Jenni Booth, and she's been working with us as my marketing and client care assistant for 7 years. But we met about 13 years ago when I was teaching school. I was teaching kindergarten autistic class when the market crashed back in about 2007 or something like that. And I met her daughter, Emma, who was 3 years old at the time. And I was teaching kindergarten autistic children. And Emma eventually came to my class, and I got to know this wonderful lady sitting next to me.
I'm absolutely thrilled.
Who was my homeroom mom at the time. And I learned so much through those years of helping parents, especially with really young children, because my background was older children and it was transitioning into the workforce. And then I ended up at an elementary school because my children were in elementary, same age, very similar to hers. And we met, and now we have a great work relationship. But Jenni has a lot of insight to share because of Emma. And Emma and Jenni that's what we're talking about next, because she's going to share her story about Emma.
And we can start story time.
Okay, yes. So Emma is currently 16. So I have gone through elementary school, middle school, and now high school. She was diagnosed with autism when she was 2, and she went into the pre-K program at our neighborhood school, which was phenomenal. They start that I think at age 3. So she was there for 3, 4, and then she did kindergarten twice. One time with Lisa, and another time she was fused into a regular classroom. Once my older daughters, who were also at that school, moved on to middle school, we decided to look at other options. At that time, she was very low verbal. She had lots of behavior problems. She just wasn't in a situation that she was capable of learning at that point. And unfortunately, she was picking up bad behaviors from other students in the class. So we decided to go to private school, and we looked at probably 15 private schools, and a lot of them told us, we can't help her. Her behaviors are too bad for us to help. And while that was hard to hear, I'm a special needs parent, so I have to have a thick skin, and I really don't want my daughter somewhere that they don't want to help her. So we went to a small private Catholic school for children with special needs. It's called Morning Star Catholic School. And she was there from 1st grade until 8th grade. And it was a very positive experience for her. It was small classrooms. The students were a little bit more high functioning. They don't take major behavior problems, but they will help through developmental problems. They have, special needs teachers, they have aides. Due to coming from public school, she could get speech therapy at private school paid for through public school because of her IEP. The small school was really great for her, adapted curriculum. They had a special person that would help in behavior situations, so that if she couldn't stay in the classroom, she could move somewhere else to finish her work. But they were very patient, very encouraging, and that's what she needed at the time. Then she graduated that school, and there is another Morning Star option in Pinellas County, but that was too far of a drive for us. So when she finished at Morning Star, she went to our neighborhood school, which again is a very excellent school. They have a great program that's really working for her. We did look at some special needs options for high school, but they were really all very academically challenging, and that is not her strength. She will not be going to college. So I knew that wasn't the right option. So the way high schools work in Hillsborough County is that for my daughter, she's on an access point curriculum, which means that she doesn't have quite as much that she needs to do to get her diploma, but she will receive a diploma at graduation. When she finishes the requirement, I believe she only has to have 24 credits to graduate, which is less than a typical child. Then they will start a work study program, a transition program, which is what Lisa worked in when she worked with adults. And We haven't gotten there yet, but I've asked lots of questions. My understanding is that they'll pair with a local business like Publix. Right now they're at a nursing home. They've done pet stores and some other things. And they will bring her there and they will teach her job skills. There will be job coaches. They're already talking to her about what kind of job she would like. And they'll teach her how to interview and all that kind of stuff. So she can stay in public school until she's 22. And so most likely we'll probably keep her until 22 because after she finishes her diploma, it'll be a job study thing, which, she goes to school, they will take her to whatever she is doing, and then they will bring her back. Everything's a challenge with special needs kids. And so you have to find what's the right fit for them.
Because they're all so different.
They're all so different
and unique. Yeah.
So we will be including a list of some of the private schools around Tampa Bay with what their features are. Some specialize in autism, some specialize in deaf and blind, some have really good programs for dyslexia. So we kind of outlined those. So the link will be below.
Yeah, that's great information that Jenni's compiled. We have clients a lot of times that may not even know we have this specialty. We just happened to get a call recently from someone who had a daughter who's, I think, 3 or 4 with autism. And she was just struggling because she wants to move to our area and she was just curious about what neighborhoods might be best. And so when we got on that call with her, I had Jenni on the call, and I think it was just really was so helpful that we realized there's really just not that much information out there to help people, whether you're here local in Tampa and are considering what to do or moving to the area. So I have some questions that I have for Jenni, and we're just going to kind of go through them. And if you guys have any questions, please in the comments below, ask them or reach out to us, and we're more than happy to talk to you as well. So what things need to be considered for special needs kids that you don't always have to consider for gen ed kids?
Okay, so some of those that I would say are the academics. They are not going to do typical academics, although my daughter is learning algebra and studying the Revolutionary War in high school right now. But the curriculum is very modified, so that is important. If you're in public school, they're going to be taking state assessments, and so you need to understand how that works. For my daughter, they take the state assessment. If she doesn't pass, then they can waive her by looking at her schoolwork that she's completed. But thankfully, so far, she's passed all of her.
That's awesome. Go, Emma! Woo! I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, so
that's really neat.
I would also consider safety issues. If your child's an eloper, which thankfully Emma is not, that is very important to know what their plan is to make sure that the campus is safe.
Yes.
You want to know about transportation. In public school, they will provide transportation to you. And if it's a safety issue, they will provide door-to-door transportation for you. So the bus picks my daughter up at our driveway and returns her to our driveway because it's unsafe for her to be at a regular bus stop.
Or to walk home or to just be dropped off.
Yeah. So if you're in private school, which we were for 7 years, you have to commit to driving your kid to school. So that would be very important in selecting what area of Tampa that you live in, maybe what neighborhood, because if you can find a neighborhood school, that would be so much better for that. And then I think the last thing that we really strongly considered is how they interact with typical peers.
Yes.
Because that is really important. Modeling proper behavior, modeling social development is really important. So at Morningstar, the kids were a lot more high functioning. So there would be students who were very verbal and very social. And so she kind of fed off that and started learning really appropriate social interaction.
Yes.
And then now she's at Steinbrenner and they're involved with Special Olympics. They do the Best Buddy program. They do some community-based interventions, going to like a specially designed house and learning how to cook and
that's so
do
cool.
laundry and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's the difference between an IEP and a 504?
Okay, so they're both legal documents that the schools have to follow. They are free to the parent to prepare. An IEP is done every single year, and it has very specific goals. So for instance, on my daughter's IEP now, one of her speech goals is answering WH questions. For a 504, those are just accommodations for testing, curriculum, homework, something like that, like sitting closer to the teacher, having more time to take a test, maybe less homework. And so the 504 is much broader based. The other thing for an IEP is you have to have a specific federal learning disability. There's 13 of them, and you have to have one of those to get an IEP.
Okay, another question.
Yeah.
What's the average size in your back that you've been through of your special needs class?
Okay, so when she was in preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, there were probably 7 or 8 kids with at least one aide, sometimes 2, depending on
Plus the teacher.
Right. Yeah, but depending on the behavior needs in the classroom. When she got to Morning Star, the younger grades were probably about 10 students, and middle school was maybe 15. But again, they had lots of support. They had therapists. They had a behavior therapist that worked with the kids. And then in high school, most of her classes are about 10 or 12 students right now.
That's great. What about inclusion? What's that all about?
Okay, so inclusion is when she, as a special needs student, gets to go and do things with typical kids. So there's 2 different kinds of classrooms. There's a self-contained class, which is what she's in. That's all special needs kids. And then there's blended classes. So that would be students who need a little extra help and typical kids. So if she were behaviorally able and academically able to, like, maybe she's a whiz in math, which she is, but not enough that this would apply to her. If she was a whiz in math, she could go to a typical high school class
For that subject
and be with typical students. She would still have accommodations and modifications, but they would not be as specific to her. So that's kind of for more advanced students, I would say. But for us, this self-contained works great. I have lots of friends who have kids that are in blended classrooms, and they work great too.
So it's case by case. It's what
Yep.
the student needs and what works best for them.
Yep.
So what educational philosophies do you think are the most important when you're considering different options for a special needs student?
Again, I would say the teacher to student ratio and the supports that are available. I think that in public high schools, she gets speech, she has aides, there's several aides in every classroom, and their curriculum is very helpful for life learning.
Yes, that's
so
the focus.
The life skills are really hard for a lot of people on the spectrum, and so they are teaching her life skills.
Money.
Yes, as simple as money, addressing an envelope, things that maybe your child might learn typically in kindergarten, first, second grade. Even at the high school level, those kids don't have all those schools. And my experience is it's really hard for a parent to teach some of that stuff, because if your kid is non-compliant, they're not going to empty the dishwasher, but the teachers can teach them how to empty the dishwasher or fold their laundry or apply for a job.
Right. Yep. Those are great skills. So the next question is, what is the difference between a modification and an accommodation?
Okay, so
we're doing all kinds of good stuff today.
Yeah. So an accommodation is they are changing something about the way she's learning. So for instance, she might be able to listen through headphones to what the teacher's saying. She might be able to do all written work that is followed. It's more specific to the child and the way that they would learn. A modification is that they just tweak the curriculum a little bit. So for instance, when I said she's going to get an access point diploma, that is a modification. She's only going to be required to have 24 credits compared to what a typical child would have. So she will still get a degree. It will be a different kind of degree, but for a child, if they wanted to go to USF, which, side note, USF has a really great college program for kids with autism.
Really?
They
See,
do.
I didn't know that.
Yes, they do.
That's really cool.
They have a whole department at USF, and they help the kids with study skills and working with their professors and everything like that. I've heard really good things.
Let's say it. Go Bulls.
No, sorry, I'm a UCF fan.
I'm saying go Bulls. Okay. All right. So I know there's a lot of challenges. I was with you when she was little. We had lots of tears, lots of things that you've gone through. But what do you think is the hardest thing as a parent with a child with special needs?
It's just you have to meet them where they're at. You have to the goal that you had for them is not going to be necessarily the goal that's appropriate for them. A really great, I share this with all my special needs friends. There's a poem called Welcome to Holland. I'll put a link for it down in the description. But basically it says that you prepare your whole pregnancy thinking that you're going to Holland that you're going to Paris. And then you show up in Holland, and Holland's beautiful. It has windmills and waterfalls and beautiful mountains and all of that, but it's not Paris. It doesn't mean that it's still not as wonderful. It's just a different kind of wonderful. So that's really hard saying that, she's probably never going to be able to drive, and that's okay. Right. Because that's where she's at. And just accepting that and having other people accept that. Yeah. Is very difficult. So you definitely have to find friends and supports to help you. CARD at USF, Center for Autism Related Disabilities, is really great about putting you in touch with resources in the community.
So there was also, I think, some neat things that we went over on that phone call that I wasn't even aware of, where you have like people that are doing special night out things where the parents can drop off the kids for 3 or 4 hours on a Friday, and they have supervision, but they can socialize, and you can go out for 3 or 4 hours, which would be really great, especially with little ones. You have some older kids, so they can help if you need help with Emma sometimes, although they're going off to college soon. So you won't, but it's nice to think about those other things that are going on in the community. So it seems like there's a lot of
social clubs, I think is what they call them. And yes, the kids get together and they'll have dinner. That's nice. They'll, do a craft project. They'll play games, so they're learning that interaction, and the parents have a little bit of a break because it is hard. You can't just hire any babysitter. Right. There's very specific people
that are trained,
like 3 people in my world that I trust to watch Emma.
Right. So I gotcha. That's cool. So that's just some good information, and Jenni's full of great information. We're going to definitely link some things below so you can click on those, but feel free to reach out to us anytime. I think there's some schools that really stand out for sure, right? So we're featuring those schools, I think, in the list below. And if you're going into a private school and you wanted to be as close as possible, this is where the question comes up: where should we live? What neighborhood would be good for us to live in proximity to that school, based on what kind of housing you're looking for? Because you may be looking for a condo or a single family home or a townhome. What's your budget and things like that. So once you narrow down, which schools might be good for you, or which neighborhood schools might work for you, it might be good to be close to your neighborhood schools. Like you got a great elementary and a great high school as your neighborhood school.
Well, there was a good middle school option as well that we chose not to.
And you went private for that time. So, there's lots of options, and we're here to help you guys with any questions you might have. We hope you really enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out. Please give us a thumbs up, ring the little bell, and subscribe to our channel so you'll be notified of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.
Ciao for now.